Welcome to Mumbrella House. I'm Tim Burrows. Joining me, Russ Mitchinson from the APG and DDB Sydney. Russ is over in New York at the moment, having just been in the Silicon Valley. Russ, welcome along. Thank you very much for joining us. It's probably worth just starting by explaining the reason for our conversation today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Well, I've just arrived in New York, as you said, from San Francisco. We've kind of been brought out here as part of the Account Planning Group Australia, which, as you know, is the planning body. And we're the guests of Google on a field trip, really to look at the latest in terms of innovation, technology, and digital from where it's at, which is ultimately Silicon Valley in terms of the tech, and also New York in terms of the creative output for Google. So for us, it's kind of a fact-finding mission into the future to see what we can glean and what we can bring back to Australian shores.
And what do you think Google gets out of bringing you across?
Well, it's a very good question. I'm inclined to believe that it's pretty selfless, and certainly thus far, there's been no agenda pushed. There's been no technology sold to us. I think that they genuinely see, well, to be honest, I think that they see Google and many technology firms are being brought in at the end of the process after the strategy's been formulated, the idea's been created, and really we're sort of in the production phase. And in many instances, too many instances, technology and digital and social is a little bit of an afterthought, and they're being dragged in to make the idea social or make the idea viral. And I know that sounds very old-fashioned, but as they know, and as I think many of the agencies know, that is still happening. So Google see the value in getting further up the strategic funnel and actually being, part or privy to those conversations around the strategy to make sure that technology and innovation is baked into the strategy before it even gets to the creative brief. And therefore, one would hope that the ideas are generated are truly cognizant of the possibilities of digital and technology in this day and age, rather than just being brought in at the executional level.
Well, you've written an opinion piece for us today, and that's one of the points you make, that you make the argument that digital isn't far enough up, high enough up in the kind of the thinking and the planning. Do you think that's particularly a criticism of communications and planning in Australia in particular?
I mean, I obviously don't want to point the finger at us, and listening to Google discussing the market in America, I would say that the failing is probably not just an Australian one. I'd say that it's probably still a global one, in that maybe we haven't inculcated this technology and this new thinking closely enough. I think we are doing it, but we could do it better. And I suppose that's the rationale for the APG trip, is to go from doing it well to doing it brilliantly. And the more that we can engage with these sort of these companies in that way of thinking, it can only better the strategic and the creative product.
And you also make the point that we're doing it too slowly.
Yeah, I think one of the real eye-openers for the planners amongst us, and I should just say the very short opinion piece that I've put together is really the amalgamation of the thinking from the APG committee. Initial 2 days thinking, so it's pretty quick off the press, and I would just single out Sophie Price from the hallway as well as being really helpful within that. But to your question, Tim, yes, one of the things that really struck the APG committee was the fail-fast mentality that is really prevalent at Google, and I would say across Silicon Valley as a whole. And their belief in fast is better than slow, and it's about iteration, it's about constant iteration, and there's a sense of continuous evolution in their creation of ideas. It's not the baton passing that we still see existing within communication agencies. One of the elements that they have to this is prototyping is huge across Silicon Valley, and that's not just coming up with a functioning sort of beta of it. They've even described it as sort of faking it, pretotyping is what they've been calling it, which is coming up with a design for an app or a piece of technology that's almost physical, that you can put into your client's hands. And it, in many instances, isn't even a working prototype. They kind of fake it with actors behind the screens. It's that kind of mechanical Turk idea. It looks like a robot, but really it's just a person talking behind the curtain. But they find that technique, that theatre, is enough to get clients to understand the potential of the technology in quite a visceral, in a very human and a very emotional way. And again, that technique of prototyping is something I think we could really learn from in the communications industry. You know, moving on from just the storyboard to actually getting clients to feel in a visceral way the ideas, and hence to be more engaged and ultimately to buy them.
Now, another learning or another thought that's occurred to you is over that silos issue. You know, there's obviously been a lot of debate around creative versus media and the two sitting in different silos. But your argument is, in this sort of world of kind of technology meets marketing, that's an even bigger issue.
Well, yeah, it's quite embarrassing to have a third party pointing these things out so evidently to us. And you know, as part of the APG committee, we've been really keen to bring on digital thinkers, social thinkers, and also media thinkers as well. So we've got representatives from media agencies on the committee. So sitting there, both creative and media, we were listening to Google, just flagging the real issue, especially in America, around getting creative strategists and media strategists to talk together. And I don't think I'd be talking out of school to say that in many instances Google has been instrumental in creating, you know, a workshop environment to get those parties in the room together along with the client. And obviously that's not something I believe should be happening back home in Australia. I believe that it's, you know, it's behoven to the strategists on both sides of the creative media divide to have having that constant conversation, and to really be working in partnership, I'd say, in many instances, like an art director and a copywriter, to really generate a truly media neutral strategy which is cognizant of some of this new innovation. So yeah, we were going all the way to Silicon Valley to be told how we need to work smarter and closer together.
Well, I suppose some of it is it's one thing to kind of know it intellectually, and another to actually sort of see the evidence with your own eyes. Russ, we will leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time, and enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thank you so much, Tim, and I look forward to reporting back to Australian shores. In fact, if I may just say, we're putting on an event on Thursday, the 21st of November at the Chevelle Theatre, where we will be discussing some of those issues and many others that we've found addressing the Australian communications industry, and also some of the possible solutions that we've discovered, alongside a panel discussion with an anthropologist, Google, and maybe some live hangouts. So see you at the Chevelle Theatre on Thursday the 21st. Thanks.